Hey guys, this is going to be a very short video because I'm simply going to do the external carotid branches, and then the internal carotid I will do in the same video as the circle of Willis. It is basically the circle of Willis, so that's why that's going to be a separate video. So we're going to start with the heart again. I drew it like a little handbag. I'm not the best artist, but we're going with what we have. So the aorta leaves the heart, gives off the right coronary artery, left coronary artery. Then on your left side, you have your common carotid and your subclavian artery. These are the branches that the aorta mainly gives off. But on your right hand side, you don't have enough space for it to come off as two separate branches. Your vena cava sits there. It makes the space very uncomfortable. So you have a brachiocephalic trunk here. And then off that brachiocephalic trunk, you have your common carotid and then your subclavian artery that travels here. So we're going to focus on your common carotid. When you see the word common, it means the artery is going to split. That is a universal rule. You see common or trunk and you know this artery is going to split sooner or later. So it divides into your external carotid and your internal carotid. And please don't make the same mistake as me and thinking that the external carotid is going to supply the brain, because it doesn't. It supplies the outside of the skull. It doesn't even go supply the inside of the skull, which is your cranial cavity. It stays on the outside. It supplies the skin and external stuff, etc., not the brain. So your external carotid has 8 important branches, and I remember these branches with the mnemonic. Some anatomists like freaking out poor medical students, and sometimes that is a very true thing, coming from someone who had to teach themselves most of human anatomy alone. So the first important branch, S for some, S for superior thyroid. And guess what your superior thyroid supplies? The superior part of your thyroid. And then secondly, we have A for anatomist, and that is A for your ascending pharyngeal artery. And what does this supply? Your pharynx. And your pharynx, you know what that is. That is the space between your mouth, nose, and your esophagus. And then the third branch, L for like, is L for lingual. It supplies your tongue area. And then the fourth branch, freaking, F for freaking, F for facial. Your freaking facial artery travels here, and it supplies mostly the skin area here, the face. And then fifth, you have O for out, O for your occipital artery. I think this is where my confusion comes in, because you have an occipital lobe, and I thought it supplies the brain. No, it's occipital refers to the back of the head. So it simply supplies the skin area at the back of your head. And then you have P for poor, and that is your posterior auricular artery. Auricular refers to the ear, and posterior means the artery travels behind the ear, yeah. And then you have M for medial, and that M is also for maxillary, and your maxilla is your cheekbones. And it anastomoses, that means one artery connects to the other artery. It anastomoses with the facial artery. And then S for students, lastly, is S for your superficial temporal artery. What is your temples? It is this area here where people knock each other over the head. And superficial tends to mean it supplies the skin, and that is precisely what your superficial temporal artery does. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. See you in the next video.